Hello all, welcome to this course on Spring Boot. Before starting with this course, I just want to tell you that I am assuming that you are a Java developer and you have some work experience with Spring. This is required because Spring Boot is a framework depending on a Spring. It uses a lot of annotation of Spring, so Spring understanding is required. Okay, so let's start with Spring Boot. Here is a brief introduction about Spring Boot. It's a framework to bootstrap your web application. It is generating standalone application and it is generating production ready application. Now what is production ready application means? It is an application when you will generate it and you can directly deploy it to your production application, production environment with minimal changes. Now what exactly it means? Spring Boot gives you many things configured, pre-configured, depending on your dependencies, what kind of dependencies you are adding while generating that project. So it auto configures many of the configuration so that developer will not need to write all those boilerplate configuration again and again. Okay, so we are going to see what exactly it means. Okay, so let's start with creating Spring Boot first web application. Okay, so you just go to the Spring initializer site. Like see here, you can generate Maven project or a Gradle project. So I'm going to select Maven project here. With Java, Kotlin or GUI, I'm going to do with Java and Spring Boot. These are the different versions available. So I'm going to generate it with 2.1.0 and 4. Actually, you can choose 2.0.5, but I am getting this latest version, so I'm going to choose it. Okay, now this is a metadata of your project. So I have selected group id as com.devbrain, here Spring Boot demo as my artifact, and dependencies, which are dependencies I have added. See, these are the dependencies. Here I am going to add web. What is this web? Full stack web application with Tomcat and Spring MVC. So when you will add web in your Spring Boot application, it's going to assume that you need a Tomcat, so it's going to give you embedded Tomcat environment. Okay, and it assumes you are using Spring MVC. And then for database, I'm going to use H2. This is just for testing purpose, we can use it. H2 database, it's a embedded support, and you click on generate project, so a project will get generated. I have already generated this project. Here it is in download. This is Spring Boot demo. I'm going to extract it here. Okay, so now I'm going to import it as a Maven project. As it's a Maven project, I'm going to import it as a existing Maven project. Just give path for this. Okay, so importing is done. Let's have a look at this form.xml, what it is. See, this is our group id, artifact id, version, packaging. This is similar to Maven projects, so nothing different. Here, look at this parent. We for Spring Boot application, we have this parent. Every Spring Boot application extends from this, or you can say inherits from this Spring Boot starter parent. You can choose not to use this parent, but then that we will see in different tutorial, not this tutorial. For now, to keep things simple, we are going to use Spring Boot starter parent. Okay, and this is a version of our Spring Boot. There are some properties like Java version 1.8 is required. So if you are using 2.1.0, it assumes that you have version 1.8 or 1.9 for Java, and for Maven you should have version 3.3 plus. Okay, then we have added this web dependency, Spring Boot starter web dependency. This is for H2 and it will have one for test. Apart from this Spring Boot, what I said, it creates a production ready application. So it gives you executable jar or something, the jar pack or war, which is packaged with all the dependencies. So to create that bootified jar or war, this Spring Boot Maven plugin is required. Okay, so it is getting added here by default. And why we need to extend from or inherit from this parent? So this parent also gives you a run goal. Run goal is like you can execute your application with command mvn spring boot run. You go to your base path of your project and execute mvn spring boot run and your application will start. Okay, so we are going to take a look at it, but before that, do one more thing. We'll go to Java class. What exactly is getting generated here? See, this is our demo application Java class. In this is a main class, so definitely it's a entry point. At Spring Boot application, this tells that it's a Spring Boot application, and in main there is we are passing Spring Boot Spring application dot run. So this run method we are passing, this is our primary Spring component. So we are basically passing name of this class Spring Boot demo application, and here are argument. So arguments here, whatever you want to pass as your command line argument will be passed to this, and that will be accessible in your Spring application. Okay, apart from this, we have an application.properties where you can configure like port, context path, etc. etc. Whatever properties you need to configure, you can configure here. Like suppose I want to configure a port where this application should run. So I'm going to configure server.port is equal to 8080. Okay, I want to configure a context path also. So server dot servlet dot context path. You can see any of a sample application online and you will get how what are the name or a key for these properties. Okay, Spring Boot app. Okay, so now let's try to run this application. I'm going to run it as a Java application. This is one of the way you can launch your Spring Boot application. Okay, so it started on port 8080. Okay, see I have given here port 8080. Now I'm going to try to access it if it's really working. So here localhost 8080 and this Spring Boot app. Okay, so it's working. Actually it's giving a whiteable error page because it don't know 404, it don't know what to do on this slash. Nothing we have mentioned in our application, so we are just going to modify a bit here. I'm just going to copy paste some code from here. See this, I'm going to add this service rest method, you can say not rest, this method here, and this rest controller, and at enable auto configuration basically here. So rest controller and auto configuration. Fine. Now on page we should be able to see welcome to Spring Boot course when we will launch. Okay, so here I am relaunching, yes, and I can see welcome to Spring Boot course. So this is how you create your first Spring Boot demo application. So this is a way to run. You can run it as a Java application. Another way to run this application, first I am going to run mvn clean install on this application. So I am choosing run as maven build mvn clean install. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so one way to run your application, to launch your application, is using run as Java application. Another way which I was talking about, like when you inherit from parent, you get ambient Spring Boot run. So I'm just going to do it after this clean install is completed. I'm just going to show you that way. Okay, so now I can go to this path of Spring Boot demo. Going to go on command prompt, cd paste, retry. Okay, mvn Spring Boot run. Okay, I forgot to tell you one thing. Before running this, you just check your Java version here. It should be 1.8 or sorry, Java version. It should be 1.8 or 1.9 and mvn version 3.3 plus. Yeah, so 3.5.4. So I can execute mvn Spring Boot run. Okay, yes, it's starting. So this is why, because you are inheriting from parent. If you are not inheriting from parent, then some certain other configurations are required so that you can run it this way. But for now it's working fine. The another way is to launch from jar. So I'm going to java minus jar, and what is the name? Oh, sorry, you need to go to target where that jar is. Java minus jar Spring Boot demo. This jar, this is basically bootified, so you can launch application from it. This is because you have that Maven plugin here in your pom.xml. I have shown you some time back. Because of that plugin, yes, because of this Spring Boot Maven plugin, you are able to run it. Now if you want to pass any arguments, yes, you are able to pass, because here we are passing all command line arguments here like this, so all those will be accessible. Now suppose I want to change a port. It's by default running on 8080 port. I want to change it to 8081, so I'm going to pass it as server.port 8081, sorry, 8081, and let's see. It should start now on 8081. Yes, now it started on 8081. Yes, so that's it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching and hope to see you in next video. Thank you.